Welcome to this week's Bible Topics discussion. We're glad you joined us. Today's discussion is about miracles.
There are lots of stories of miracles in the Bible. You've probably heard most of them. We enjoy hearing those stories over and over, but we have some that are favorites. One of our favorites is the Old Testament story of Daniel and the lion's den. You can read it in Daniel chapter 6. Very briefly, Jerusalem had been besieged, and Daniel and some others were taken off to Babylon and pressed into service to the bad king. They were ordered not to pray to any god, but to the king. Of course, Daniel, who was faithful to God, wouldn't pray to anyone except God. The king found out and had him thrown into the lion's den. He wasn't happy to do this because he sort of liked Daniel, but he had ordered a document saying that anyone would go to the lion's den if they didn't pray to the king. So he sort of set himself up for this trouble. The king had a bad night, and as soon as he could the next morning, he ran to the lion's den and called for Daniel. Daniel told him he was okay because God had shut the mouths of the lions and they had not bothered him all night. A definite miracle.
Amen. Another of our Old Testament favorites you can read in Exodus 14. It's when Moses was leading the Israelites out of Egypt, and God parted the Red Sea for them, and they crossed over on dry land. Notice that not only did he part the waters, but the land was dry for them to walk on. Another definite miracle. The Old Testament is not the only place where miracles are recorded. The New Testament is full of them too. In John chapter 6, you can read about Jesus feeding more than 5,000 people with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. It's not humanly possible to feed that many people with that amount of food. But Jesus kept breaking off pieces for them to hand out until everyone was fed. And there were leftovers, enough to fill 12 baskets.
Another favorite miracle from the New Testament is when Jesus raised his friend Lazarus from the dead. You can read it in John chapter 11. Lazarus was sick, and Jesus was on his way to see him, but he died before Jesus got there. Jesus knew this and put off his trip for a couple of days. When he got there, the 2 sisters of Lazarus, Mary and Martha, were grieving over his death. Jesus went to the tomb and called, "Lazarus, come forth." Lazarus came from the tomb, still wrapped in grave cloths. Jesus told them to take them off. They protested because he had been in the grave for 4 days, and it would be most unpleasant. Still, they obeyed, and there was Lazarus, alive and well.
There are people who don't believe that miracles are still happening today. Well, I can tell you that's not true, because a miracle happened to me a few years ago. A tornado had come through the next town over from us and had done some damage in the yard of a couple that go to our church. Another friend from church and I went to their house to help clean up the yard. We were standing between 2 huge trees that had fallen down. We were using our chainsaws when another tree shifted and came right down and pushed the 2 fallen trees together. All of a sudden, we were on the other side of them, safe and sound. We looked at each other in disbelief. We had not moved, but God had moved us out of harm's way in the blink of an eye.
I have one to tell too. One time a little girl about 3 or 4 years old who went to our church was accidentally run over by a car at a gas station here in town. People screamed and motioned to the driver, who thought they meant for him to back up. So he did, and backed over her. Someone at the church found out and started calling people. I was called and started praying earnestly for her to be all right. In just a few minutes, the call came that she was fine and didn't even have any internal injuries. I would say that's a miracle for sure.
If you think that praying for a miracle is not something we should do, remember what Jesus said in John chapter 16, verses 23b and 24. Very truly I tell you, my Father will give you whatever you ask in my name. Until now, you have not asked for anything in my name. Ask and you will receive, and your joy will be complete. Ask God. You may be pleasantly surprised at what He'll do.
Well, that's it for this week. Contact us with any questions you have, and please like, comment, and share.
See you next week. Be blessed.